Okay, so obviously anybody who's not nuts about numbers, and I think I'm I'm a rare bird in the fact that I've been obsessed with the numbers that underpin gambling games for as long as I can remember. I mean, certainly since my school days and early school days at that. Um, but most people don't care about the numbers. Most people are almost scared to know the numbers. They certainly don't pay attention to things like that chart that I put up every so often, the Nevada gaming win on games where you look at blackjack, which is supposed to have a house percentage of less than 1%, and the win percentage, the percentage of the churn or the total action that the house retains collectively, all the casino places that have blackjack tables, is north of 14%. So this is explained by the fact that the majority of people play instinctively, emotionally, recklessly, drunkenly, greedily, emotionally, all of those things, which I get they are absolutely entitled to do. They have that right. So I'm not challenging that or interfering with it or threatening it in any way. All I'm saying is that I am in existence with this project that I've been working on for all these years to try to persuade a few people willing to listen that there are ways to beat these table games consistently, but it can't be done. And then let's apply all those adjectives or adverbs or whatever the hell they are, recklessness, stupidity, greed, emotion, shit or bust, Hail Mary, all of those kinds of things. And the sort of thing that you see all the time where you'll see somebody like Vegas Matt or Mr. Handpay or whoever saying, okay, I'm going up to the table with a buy-in of 30,000. It's nothing when they're betting between 500 and 5,000 and sometimes 10,000. It's nothing. You have to have a bankroll which is commensurate with the challenge. And the challenge is to get through the extreme volatility that will sometimes occur and which doesn't bother the house because the house has all the money in the world. Players don't. Nobody goes into the game unless they're Dana White, who apparently has tens of millions behind him and has it all in his back pocket and is quite used to beating the casinos 23 nights in a row for $1 million a night, which we all believe, of course. But if you look at this, you see that this is volatility right here and here and here and here and here and here. And, you get the picture, I'm sure. But in each one of those cases, without a monster bankroll, pattern betting with the hop applied, which it is in this model, and with the skip applied, which it also is, and that only affects less than 4% of all of all rounds, of all bets. But what happens with the skip is that you simply say, okay, this is crap, and you walk away. You don't just reduce your bet or drop to nothing. You actually say, no, I'm off to a new shoe. So anyway, just to summarize where I'm at right now at this minute is I just added about another 40 Baccarat Win Pro shoes, one of which is the one that you'll see in a little bit attached to this demo. But now we're at betting 5 minimum and 100,000 max. The average bet is 102. 102 pounds. I live in Poundland, people, so don't get upset that it's not dollars. But yeah, it's 102 units. No, units of currency. The unit is actually 5 here. So it's 21 units, call it, is the average bet. Average win over average loss, 125%, which is always what I hope for and aim for, but cannot control. I've got no control over that at all. Let me see, how many maxes were there? I think that's what this is supposed to tell me. Yeah, max. That's the number of maximum bets. So 29 times in this 132,547 bets, we had to go to the mat with a maximum bet. And yeah, I get that this kind of betting is beyond the reach of almost all players. You know, less than a tiny percentage of 1% probably actually have the resources that are needed to beat these games. But this is about a serious examination of the numbers. It's not about saying to people, "Hey, like this guy, Casino Matchfaker does all the time with his silly systems for roulette." He's saying, I've got a system here which is 98.97% effective, or 99.43% effective, or blah, 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 whatever. How about a system which is this here number up here, effective? But that's only against 132,547 outcomes. So, of course, your average mathematician, the guys who work for the casinos, will tell you, but if it can go bankrupt at any time, it could go bankrupt next time, so you shouldn't bet that way. But you'll never hear the casino saying to somebody like Vegas Matt, who bets like a total idiot, or Mr. Handpay, who's the same, or someone like Cody Burnett, or Steve Will Do It, Steve DeLeonardis, or any of those people. You don't ever hear the casino taking them aside and saying, "Hey, come on, this is what you're doing. It's pretty damn silly. You're really throwing your money away." Doesn't happen. But as soon as you start talking progressive betting to anybody who works for a casino, even a dealer, they'll say, "Don't want to do that. It's really dangerous." You could end up in really big trouble. It's absolutely true. You could end up in really big trouble if you're going to the game with, say, 30,000, a buy-in of 30,000, like Jason, Mr. HP, and you're going to bet from 500 to 10,000. Yes, you could easily get into trouble because volatility in blackjack in particular is very high. It's also pretty crappy sometimes in baccarat, but it's blackjack is definitely a more volatile game. There's no doubt about that. If you want sort of like consistency, probably craps would be a better game, but I don't really understand craps, and I can't stand up for a long time. I actually love the atmosphere at craps tables. I love the excitement. I love the waving sticks and the chips flying left and right and the dice rolling and all of that sort of stuff. It's great fun. But it's just it's too much. It's certainly too much for my weak heart. The last time actually that I played craps was at MGM in Las Vegas, and it was $50 minimum. I mean, can you imagine? It's probably much higher now because that was years ago. That was in 2013, but it was $50 minimum. And I was with a pal of mine who is a big supporter of pattern betting, the whole idea of progressive betting. And, we spent half an hour over coffee or whatever, going through the strategy once again. I had at that point taught it to him, gone through it with him, probably, at least a dozen times, slowly, gently, bet by bet by bet by bet. And he says, "Okay, got it." Gets to the craps table. Within 10 minutes, he'd lost 2,000. And so I said to him, "So what happened? You didn't bet the strategy." He said, "I couldn't remember it. I couldn't remember the rules." So, this is the mentality of so many gamblers. It's quite simply, this is so exciting. It's so thrilling. It's so entertaining. Losing is such fun. Damn, I've never had a better time in my life. It's crazy. It's nuts. But yes, they have the right to do it. It's just like Brad. He had the right to throw his money away if he wanted to. I mean, I'd prefer it if he'd said, I hate this money. Here, take it. And given it to me. I'd have played the same damn game, and I'd have made money, more money. I'd have then been able to give him back his $2,000, I guess, although I'd have been reluctant to do that. But, that's the mentality of people playing these games. It's expecting to lose, and I think to a high degree wanting to lose. You know, I mean, Vegas Matt talks about getting wrecked all the time. He talks about his losses from 2024 being somewhere between 300,000 and 400,000, and yet he's still promoting gambling. And not only that, he's promoting stupid, reckless, half-baked, irresponsible gambling, which is what he does all the time. You know, so it's pretty hard to watch these channels, at least for me. For a million other people, it apparently is the highlight of their day every day when he puts up another 45 minutes of silliness. But there we go. Different strokes for different folks, as they say, right? Anyway, let's just a little review of this. As I said, 102, which is 21 units, basically, is the average bet. Maximum went to the six-figure max here 29 times during the course of this very large number of rounds, which add up to about 1,800 hours of play total, so that the win at the end of the day is about 750 an hour. That's at 72 rounds of baccarat an hour, which is low if you're talking mini back, perhaps a little on the high side if you're talking highfalutin white gloves, bow ties, you know, big table, lots of people at the table, and lots of Chinese people taking forever to decide what they want to do and waiting for, I don't know, the chicken entrails to be right or the whatever. And that's not racist, okay? Chinese people, Asian people, some of the best, smartest gamblers you will ever see, with one exception that I remember was a guy at in Reno at, God, what the hell was that casino called? It used to be Bally's and then it became something else. High Sierra, I think they call it now, whatever, or what, Sierra, something or other. But anyway, what he did was he was counting cards, and he bet $5 against a negative count and 500 against a positive count. And of course, they fingered him and marched him out pretty quick. But I mean, that was the only stupid Asian player I have ever seen. Otherwise, they're worth playing with, they're worth sitting down with, they're worth chatting to if they feel like it, which mostly they don't, but sometimes they do. They're very interesting, and they take their time. So if you want to bet, if you want a slow game, go to a blackjack or baccarat table which has got two or more Asian players sitting there bending the cards and waiting for inspiration and looking for omens or whatever they do. It's kind of interesting. You know, Dana White is a guy who I take pot shots at every so often on these videos, safe in the knowledge, of course, that he'll never watch them because he is definitely not a numbers guy. He has a shitload of money behind him, but he's not interested in increasing it. He's interested in telling us that he's increasing it, but he's not showing us his books. He's not showing us his W2Gs or whatever they are. And he's making claims about 23 successive nights winning $1 million or more. I mean, but hey, so let's have a look. Some really nasty downturns. The lowest we went here was 3 and a bit maximum bets, minus 324,000. It's perfectly fair for you to say, who the hell can afford that kind of money? And that's really the whole point of what I'm doing. If you can't afford to win, you should not play. Because what you're up against is something that is not beatable with a tiny bankroll. It just can't be done. It can be done in the short term. You can have success in the short term. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And if you're Jason Bulkey, Mr. Handpay, you can do it over a year. He's 4% ahead of the house, and he's about 200 and something thousand ahead, according to the stuff that he puts online. But, well, draw your own conclusions. He's a clever bugger, that's all I'm saying. If he can random bet the way that he does and tilt the way that he does and go off the rails the way that he does and still end up 200,000 ahead, then he needs to go and teach his buddy Vegas Matt because they would make a killer team, those two, with all their millions combined. But let's see. The hop is something that I apply. Here it's set at -5, simply because it's a bloody nuisance. And there's an awful lot of hopping goes on if you set it to -3. In these demos that I do, including the one that's coming up in a bit, which is the last shoe to be added to this model, I do the hop at -3, and so often I regret it, because right after -3 comes 3 wins on the side that I just left from, And the way that it works is, well, you can see it down here. -1 is 10,513. -2 is 8,319. -3, 4,197. I mean, I've been a bit extra pedantic here. And then -4 comes up half as often, and then -5 comes up half as often, -6. So you can see what I'm talking about here, maybe. But I track all this stuff because I care about it, and because I'm anal, because I'm OCD, because I'm all of those things that people like to criticize me for. But in the end, I'm not doing this for money. I'm just doing it in the hope that there are a few people out there who are listening and who want to beat these games and are willing to learn how to do it, to work hard at it, and to put a lot of money behind it. And I'm not saying put a lot of money in my pocket so I can do it. Just hang on to your money, do what I tell you, make some more money, keep it all. I don't care. All I want to do is offset the damage that is done by the casinos offering games which are deadly to the vast majority of people who play them. I mean, look at the mere existence of Las Vegas now, the number of casinos there. It's well over 100. Most of them cost north of $1 billion to build. There are no longer special deals in Las Vegas. You used to be able to get a fantastic steak dinner for less than a fiver, less than a fin, as they used to call it in Damon Runyon's day anyway, in New York, $5. You used to be able to get a fantastic room for less than $15 a night. I mean, yes, I'm going back to when dinosaurs roamed the earth, back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. But now Las Vegas is as expensive as anywhere else on the planet for a vacation. And on top of that, they want to turn you upside down and shake you till everything falls out of your wallet and your pockets, and they'll take your gold teeth too, if they can get their greedy mitts on them. But and see, what they're doing these days is they're changing the traditional games. They're making alterations to them which improve their odds, improve the house odds still further. Stupid games like Double Down Madness, like Free Bet Blackjack, like No Commission Baccarat, all of these kinds of things. I mean, I was watching Bobby Rivas, Bluffin' Bob, as he calls himself online, and he had, I'm pretty sure it was $1,000 bet down on Banker, and Banker won with a 3-card 7, so he wasn't paid. That's a shitload of commission. $1,000, that would be commission on, well, that's commission on 20,000. So, oh dear. And they do this and nobody stops them. Nobody, the gaming commission, as they call themselves in Nevada, they're perfectly happy for the casino to twist the arms of players still further and to make things tougher for them to beat. They're happy with that, because what they're looking at is well, more revenue for the gaming commission, more revenue for the state, more profit for the casinos. Well, I've done that in the wrong order, haven't I? But, that's what it's about. So nobody in Nevada, nobody in authority, none of the legislators, none of the regulators, nobody like that is interested in player welfare. They don't give a shit about that. All they care about is bringing in more casinos, more money, more profits for the state, more taxes for the state, and expansion of the gaming commission. I don't know what the gaming commission's budget is, but I'll tell you something, it's bloody huge. We know that much. But there you are. What else do I need to talk about? Oh, yes, the hop. I interrupted myself. I was talking about the hop. So it's set at -5 here. And what happens is the raw house edge here is about 1.7% for this selection. And that's based entirely on, if you bet player all the time, then you would lose on average 1.67%. You might say to yourself, okay, well, the smart thing to do is to bet banker. Well, banker with commission, once you call this, you take that number, which is higher than the player number, right? But then you deduct 5%. That's the net banker win over there, 57,884, which is lower than player at 58,929. But what the hop does is it just goes boink, 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 back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And the hop manages to turn minus 1.67% into plus 0.06%. So we're not talking about a huge player edge, but it's a slight player edge. If you take the total action here in pounds, but you can call it dollars if you want to, it doesn't matter, multiply that by that, you get an estimated or indicated expected win based on this flat value here of 8,272, but we actually won 1.328897 million. What else? Boom, boom. 4-to-1 return on risk, target set at 1.2. That's mostly not relevant because rounding up takes care of that, but that's another thing. Max ratio, maximum bets is 4,570 to 1, so you can expect to go six figures every 4,571 shoes, if you like, bets rather. Divide that by 72 and you get what, about sort of 600 or something like that. What else? One of the mathematical myths that they love to chuck around is that it doesn't matter what bet values are, they're all subject to the same percentage of loss. Absolutely true with random betting, a load of utter crap when it comes to progressive betting. A low bet here is 5,000 or less. Let's see, lost 57,573, won 57.
This is a reminder.
Alexa, stop. I'm sorry about Alexa. I never remember to turn her off, and I probably never will. And I'm going to drink water. Alexa, shut up! Fucking hell. Always at a key moment too. Minus 57,573 plus 57,653. So more or less even right there. Here, high bets, there were not that many of them. There were about 400 of them altogether. 184 losers, 227 winners. So what you're looking at here is a very different story. Once you get into high bet country, you see more winners. And the reason for that is purely mathematical, it's purely logical, and that is that you don't start to get high bets until the house advantage is running away from far from normal. So it's, instead of being at around 1.5% for the house, it's jumped to 3 to 5 to 10 to 15 to 20%. And that doesn't give you the ability to guess what's coming next. And we don't care what's coming next. We prefer it to be a win for us, but we don't expect it to be a win for us. We hope it'll be a win for us, but we don't know it's going to be a win for us. Do you get my drift? But the thing is that there has to be an offset or a correction at some point when the house edge has gone nuts, because otherwise it'll stay nuts. And everything that we know about the game, the 1.3% house edge or 1.5 or whatever it is, becomes nonsense if there's not a correction. And so it always comes. It's absolutely inevitable. It always comes. You just have to make sure, and this is really what pattern betting is about. You're just trying to make sure that you've got a decent amount of money out if you get a win, enough money that'll put a dent in your loss to date. Whereas if you bet like Vegas Matt or all of these guys who just keep getting flat, betting flat during a winning streak, I mean, it's the most extraordinary thing to see. 6, 7, 8 wins in a row, 500 each time. They're in the hole, for Christ's sake. What they need to do is they need to turn that around, but they don't do it. And, this is why I often say, good God, these guys must be working to a script. They must be doing what they're told, because it's ridiculous to bet that way. But anyway, that's how it is. So the higher the bet, the more likely it is that you will start to see a correction, but it's not guaranteed. Nothing is ever guaranteed. Every bet faces the same negative expectation, which means you have a less than 50-50 chance of winning. But all I'm saying to you is what pattern betting does is it says to you, hey, what you need is to have the right amount out just in case. And then after a certain point, if you get a lot of losses, then what you do is you either hop or you drop or you skip, hop, skip, jump, or, it's all kind of poetic, really, isn't it? It's almost beautiful. Anyway, try to wrap this up now because good God, I'm running towards 30 minutes. How do I do that? Ugh. The horizontal lines I'm sure you get are turnarounds. And just look at them. Mostly they're spaced close together. Every so often they're not. And when you see a really, really long knot, that's the kind of situation that will wipe out the average player, will absolutely destroy his limited, but in his mind, fancy bankroll, like Mr. HP's 30,000, or even Vegas Matt's million when he had his Shillionaire Day, celebrating a million subscribers. Did I nearly say suckers? Here you go. I mean, look at this. This would wipe out your average punter. It's horrible. -5, then 1. -4, Well, by then I'd skipped. I'd had enough by then, or at least the algorithm had had enough by then. So that was a skip down to the next shoe, which is numbered here. And, and then, of course, comes turnaround. And this is a perfect example. Here, what we're doing is we're saying, well, okay, let's get this out. And in reality, of course, this would be rounded up. It would probably be rounded up to 25,000. These would be all at 10 or thereabouts. But this is part of the problem with a model. It's got to be precise. I could write in all sorts of instructions which round things up, but it just gets extremely hairy then. So I just let it get on with it. But here, we're looking at a down of 18,300. So we bet 22,000. Not because we know we're going to win, but because we hope that if we do win, then that'll get us out of trouble and we'll get an okay or a turnaround. So that's what that's about. And, this is how it is with this thing. It just goes on and on like this. Look at these horizontals. They're close together. And then every so often, oh, shit. And here's another one. Odd money here. But, you'll know from if you've watched any of my demos, I round up all the time. Once I get into 500s, I round up in increments of 500. When I'm in thousands, I round up in increments of 1,000 and so on. So that this bet here would actually be 9,000. Round that up and then add 1,000. So it would be 9,000. So this bet here would have been 9,000 and that win would have been just a little more. And on we go down the list, and I don't know. I don't know what more I can say to folks out there except please think about it. If you can't afford to win, don't put your money at risk. And worst of all, don't put somebody else's money at risk. That's really, it's kind of like a two-pronged project, a one-man kind of like campaign, a one-man battle. On the one prong, I'm saying, if you have enough money, if you can afford to win, then this is how you do it. And on the other hand, I'm very much against situations where people are allowed, encouraged, even bribed to bet with other people's money. Their family's money, their children's college funds, their mortgages, their car payments, their rent, their food, whatever. They come into these casinos, and all the years that I lived in Nevada, I saw it all the time, and it was heartbreaking. There's nothing you can do to stop it because they have the right to do it according to law, and according to Nevada law, they're encouraged to do it. They stick ATMs right by the cashier's cage, right? they allowed cashiers to cash paychecks so that people can go gambling. And you even get rewards for cashing your paycheck. And there was one, where I lived in the Carson Valley, there was one little tin pot casino, a Sharky's casino, barely the size of an average house in floor space. And you were fated if you came in with your paycheck, and they'd give you an extra, I don't know, $25 or something on top of the paycheck. And time and again, I'd be at the blackjack tables. There were 2 blackjack tables, right? No, there were 3 at the time I used to play. 3 all together. In the middle was the pit, and the casino manager was usually in the pit. And very often he was using the 3rd table to polish the brass or the silver on a horse saddle, because they had lots of saddles in their collection there. So you'd be there and there'd be this strong stink of polishing whatever the hell it was. And, oh God, I forget his name. But you would watch these guys, they'd tank up on Miller Lite, lose their paychecks, sometimes be close to tears, but mostly be shit scared, because they were going to have to go home to the wife and kids and say, "What? Oh, it didn't actually, and that's encouraged in Nevada with open arms. Cash your paycheck. Go and get more money out of the ATM. There are 9 in the casino within easy walking distance of where you stand." Jeez. It's crooked. And I love gambling. I do not love the way that society deals with gambling these days. It should be a privilege. It should be hard to do. You should have to physically go somewhere to do it. You shouldn't be able to do it online. Kids should not have access. People should not be able to gamble with other people's money. And I'm not a disruptor. I'm not a fool. I'm just saying, society can't afford to keep this up. In the UK, for instance, revenue from casino taxes is dwarfed by the amount of problems that casinos cause for the economy. Bankruptcies, divorces, suicides, illness, grave illness, people who have to be treated by the NHS because they've slit their wrists because they just lost the family money at whatever, crazy shit. So yes, if you want to gamble with your own money, you should be able to do it, but you should have to bloody well work to do it. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, now I'm over 30 minutes. But I never was a quiet person. I think I've made my point. I hope I've made my point. Anyway, there we are. That's the latest from the model at 132,547 rounds. And I hope you got something out of this. If you didn't, I apologize. And I'll catch you later. All right, so just looking down here to the RIP America thing. Oh my goodness, things are just getting worse and worse. Anyway, Sunday the 2nd of March, the little glitch that stopped me from playing yesterday has gone away, so that's good news. Or maybe not, who knows. But anyway, we're off. Double for the loss. 1, 2, third. Back to the min. Double for the loss. It's going to be like that, is it? 1, 2, third. Minimum. +1. +1. +1. Plus max. Remember, the plus max is your choice. I prefer not to go above 5 units, but on a winning streak, but that's up to you. So we lost that one, so we chase it. Yeah. So now we're on 3-4, third. 1, 2, 3, 4. 7-4, and we are jumping to the bank. P1. Damn it. P2. 7-4 it is. Now it's going to be 3-5 for the commission. All right, so we got that covered. So minimum on the banker. Double for the loss. 1, 2, third. Minimum on the bank. +1. +1. +1. And we're back to plus max again. Remember, your choice. Repeat it. Okay, next one we lose, we go back to the minimum. So that's right now. Double for the loss. 1, 2, third. Minimum on the banker. Double for the loss. 1, 2, third. This is sort of like deja vu all over again. Back to the min. +1. Double for the tie. 1, 2 on the bank. 3-5 is the third. 8-5 hopping. 8-5 it is. 13-10. We'll call that 1.5 10 now. No, sorry. 3-2 in 500s. Blech. 1, 2. 3, 4. We're out of trouble there. Minimum. I love it when there's no commission, I've got to tell you. Let's win. +1. That's a repeater. 2, 3, third. No increase there. 5-3 hopping. P1. P2. Oh, that's maddening. What did I say? 5-2? I think I did. 7-4. 3-5. Uh, 8-10. All right. We're not doing fantastically on this shoe, but we're making money, and that is the name of the game. Double for the tie. plus 1. That's a 1, 2. It's all down here. If there's only 2 wins behind it, then you treat it as a going up. If it's 3, then you repeat it. No increase. And we're on 3-5 again, aren't we? Oh, well timed. Okay, back to the min. Plus 1. 51. 2, 4. For that pesky commission. And there we are. And back to the banker. What are we looking at here? We're looking at 28 wins and 28 losses, but we've got nearly 3,000. And then 31 players to 32 bankers. So, I mean, this is yet another textbook demonstration of how you have to bet in such a way. Sing along with me, everybody. In such a way that you win more when you win than you lose when you lose, so that losing more often, which is what happens most of the time, doesn't suck up your bankroll. And where the fuck am I? All right, minimum. Nearly at the end of this, I think. There we are at the end of this. All right, so we save the shoe. I'm going to make this a short one, I think. Let's have a look at it. So we have 29 into 7,900 and 28 into 5,000. So it's another no-brainer. 29 wins, 28 losses, 33 bankers, 31 players. Like I say, it's textbook, really, isn't it? It's just really straightforward. Let's have a look at the front page as we stand currently. Sorry, I'm struggling here because I've got 2 screens going. All right, so we haven't had a loss of any significance going all the way back to the 15th of Feb. The front page is looking really solid. Of course, these large ones here, these big wins, are where I've rolled over from a shitty game of blackjack and fled from it. I think I started out by saying, if the next bet is 5,000 or more, then run away. Unless you're on a winning streak. And the next bet after a loss is 5,000 or more, run away. And then I increased it to 10,000. And so those are the big wins here, where baccarat has turned us around. Another one there and another one there. Down here as well, I guess. But they have it. Anyway, that's it. Next time. Okay, so I decided to go for the gusto today because I've just finished a long squitter about the updated baccarat model plus 1 session demo, and I thought, well, in for a penny, in for a pound, in for a cent, in for a dollar, whatever. So let's see what happens. And to those of you who think that I have any advanced knowledge of what's going to happen, you're nuts. If I did know in advance, then I wouldn't want to play. It's just like, that thing with the blackjack sim of the Wizard of Odds that has the 2 card total for the player, for the dealer up above, even before the whole card is flipped. Don't like that. Okay, double for the loss. 1, 2, third. And back to the min. Double for the loss. 1, 2, third again. 3, 2, hop. 3, 2 it is. 1, 3 to cover commission. 4, 6 second. Oh dear. That's going to have to be 10, 15, isn't it? Well, how about that? Back to the min. But like I tried to explain in the in the voiceover in the model update, this is opportunism. It's not about knowing. It's not about following trends. It's not about predictions. It's not about sort of, chicken entrails, runes, omens, feelings, whatever. It's just about plodding along, behaving consistently, knowing that every single bet is more likely to lose than to win, but also being aware that in order to make a dent in your down, which is the amount that you're in the hole at a given point, then you need to have a bet out which is in a sensible proportion to the total amount of your win target. So that's the whole deal, really. Okay, minimum on the banker. +1. +1. +1. And now we're to plus max, and it's up to you whether you stop at 5 units or carry on. I'm just going to repeat from now on. Okay, we're going to chase that. We'll just repeat it. So now we're on 3-4. It's going to have to be 3-5, third on the bank. 8-5, hopping. B1. B2. Hate this. B3. Damn. B4. 8-5, did I say? I think I did. 8-5, yeah. Okay, 3-4. Well, let's make it 3-5. There we go. That's just a question of rounding up, and that's kind of up to you too. I just like to round up sensibly, not greedily, but sensibly, just working with the, whatever current currency is. What do they call it? Denom is the word they like to use in Las Vegas, I think. Anyway, back to the minimum. We've got 10 wins, 10 losses, and a profit of 1170. So, tells you something, doesn't it? Double for the loss. 1, 2, third. 3, 2, hop. 3, 2 it is. 1, 3 for the commission. 4, 6. There we go. Minimum on the bank. It's important, in my view, to stay ahead of the commission, but that's up to you too. You don't have to do that. You can do whatever you want, but stick with the strategy. But I'm talking about the sort of like the frilly bits, the sort of like the rounding up and the this, that, and the other. Chasing commission and so on. I just hate commission, so I go after it every time. But what was that? Was that? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Another +1. That's a double for the tie. That's going to be 2-3 now. 1, 2, 3. And we made that, and we go back to the min. We're ahead of commission now, that's for sure. Double for the loss. 1, 2, third. I mean, make no mistake, this is a progressive betting strategy, and I'm sure you've cottoned onto that by now. But the point is that it's controlled, it's restrained, constrained, tactically manipulated, whatever, you know. So like if you were playing a martingale, and I see that Vegas Matt has just done another martingale trashing, which seems to be in their contract, all of them, you know, they all do it at some point or other. Oh, progressive betting, you don't want to. And that's what the casinos want us to believe. What was that? Oops. Yeah, okay. So back to the min on the banker, sorry. Bad joke, mustn't make it. 51 second on the bank. Repeat. Minimum on the bank. Double for the loss. 1, 2, third. There we are. Okay, so we've got 21 wins and 20 losses and a shoe balance of nearly 2,000. I know I keep pounding the whole thing about you've got to win more when you win than you lose when you lose, but most people just think that's nonsense. They just can't make sense of it. And it's so simple. It's so logical. It's just, you know, it's just a given, really. Unless, of course, you're Mr. Handpay or Dana White, and then all you have to do is just win more often than you lose. I mean, it's simple. Great system. What the fuck? All right, so that's a double. If I stopped talking, I'd be so much more efficient. Double for the tie. Double again for the tie. Okay, so we're looking at 3, 5, third on the bank. Oh, look at that. And that's the commission sorted. And now to banker again, minimum. Double for the loss. 1, 2, third. Good. Minimum on the bank. But you know, I don't really get why anybody could possibly have an objection to this, except for the bankroll that it sometimes requires. But so much, so you know, for most of the time, I just keep beating fairly level shoes. They're not terribly unkind. Although look at this. This one is 21 players and 34 bankers, so it's a good thing I'm hopping, isn't it? Where am I at now? I've done it again, haven't I? 25 double. Am I still on the banker? Yep, repeat that. 51 second. Oops, second on the bank. Repeat that one. 1, 2, 3, 5. Yet again on the bank. Oh, nicely timed. See, and we're staying ahead of good, but we won 26, lost 28, and we're still 2,600 ahead. I just don't get the arguments. The criticism. I don't see how anybody can keep that up in the face of all of these demos that I'm putting up, unless, of course, you assume that I'm cheating. And then the question is, why? I mean, I'm not asking for money. I'm not doing anything other than simply saying to people, look, you know, do yourselves a favor, bet this way with a big bankroll, and you'll beat the house. Bet any other way, especially with a small bankroll, and you'll get your ass kicked. To the tune of, like for instance, with Vegas Matt, 400,000 in a year. That's a lot of money. What the hell is that? 8,000 a day, something like that? It's a shitload of money. It's more than I got, that's for sure. I should be richer than him, basically, because I got a better strategy. There we are. Where are we? Back to the min? I think so. +1. +1. That's a repeat. Okay, we come out of that. One little bet at 25. And we win that. And there we are, end of the shoe. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Results. But yeah, to me it's a no-brainer, but then I've been doing this a long time, so I have a different perspective than a lot of people. And I also recognize that, I'm very much in the minority here. Most people do not want to play this way. They're just not interested. And this is number 1412, and we've got 30 into 6401 and 29 into 3725. So I'll run that through the mill in a bit. But you're looking at another very successful session. And I promise you, I don't know in advance what's coming. All I know for sure is that I'm much more likely to win than to lose. And if I do lose, then I'll roll it over to the next shoe, and then I will probably end up kicking ass and winning. And every so often, I have to go to the mat. I have to really, I have to go to the 50,000, which is the max on this sim. And that's one disadvantage of this simulation. I mean, I love this thing that I play sometimes. It's single zero roulette on my phone, and I love that because it has no maximum. You can bet whatever's in your bankroll, and I've got a bankroll of about $1.5 million right now. And funnily enough, years ago when I first started, putting this thing online, back in the late 90s, I had a thing on my phone then. It was a game that the minimum, it was blackjack, and the minimum was 25, and the maximum was 5,000. And over the course of many months of sort of like playing it while waiting for the kids at various sort of events, where they sort of say, could you pick me up at so-and-so time? And then it turns out that you've got another 45 minutes to wait out in the hallway or sitting at the back of the gym or whatever. And I would just keep playing this game. And I built it up to over 2.5 million, And it was so funny because I handed it to one of my sons, my oldest boy, actually, at one point. And he looks at it and he says, fucking hell. Oh, well, don't be losing any of that, will you? I mean, I could inherit some of that. And I'm saying, it's not actually real money. It isn't? Oh, well, why bother? Well, that's a very good question. But it killed a lot of time. And it's kind of good, to start with a bankroll of 5,000 or whatever the hell it was and build it up to 2.5 million. I lost it in the end. I mean, I started, just getting fed up with playing the game. So I'd say, oh, the hell with this. I'm going to bet 5, and that can happen. I mean, that's what happens to a lot of gamblers. They just get fed up. And, oh, not again. Alexa, I'm awash. Stop. Glug, 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 glug. And that was the sound of me doing as I'm told. Because one thing I learned from 45 years of happy marriage is do as you're told. Well, when it suits you. All right, so that's it. Next time.